Welcome back to the Central Indiana Sports Report, IndyCar fans, for the IndyCar Report with Elijah Poe. Elijah's been really busy covering Ball State football and Ball State athletes for the Ball State Daily News. But news has broken, and here he is to talk some IndyCar racing with us. The silly season got pretty silly, Elijah, the last couple days.
Yes, it did. We had another big development in the 2026 driver seat situation when it was announced that Rinus Veekay would be going to Juncos-Hollinger Racing as their, I think they quoted it as their lead driver. So very interesting. I know a lot of us expected him to maybe end up in that number 4 seat at AJ Foyt, but it really seems like Juncos-Hollinger and Rinus Veekay are committed to each other here in this partnership, and we'll have to see how that works out in 2026. It's definitely something I was not expecting.
No. Yeah. I think it seemed pretty obvious that it was that the Foyt seat was for him, and this is kind of taking us aside. And of course, that fills a seat that we thought was going to be filled by our favorite, Conor Daly. So it could be, though. Not Conor has said that he's not sure what's going on as of now, and I'm not sure Juncos-Hollinger's quite sure yet what they're doing. What's the latest on that?
It is going to be interesting to see what Juncos-Hollinger Racing does. Obviously, with Rinus being signed on through 2026, actually, interesting enough, I don't know how I skimmed this, but Stingray Robb is signed on for Juncos-Hollinger through 2026.
Right.
So he is technically still going to be in that number 77 car, but that team has not made any announcements. And maybe they are waiting for the announcement because they don't want to take away from the moment for Rinus Veekay, which is just totally plausible. But on the other side, it does bring some questions that we're getting this far into the offseason, and it hasn't been solidified that Stingray Robb is going to be back for that team. And I'm sure it's maybe a funding thing, but I think it would be interesting to see some comparisons between Stingray Robb and Conor Daly. I know obviously Stingray's younger, but if you're talking about performance on the track, I don't think it's particularly close.
Unfortunately, Elijah, in IndyCar, that's not usually the most important thing when it comes to these decisions. It is with the top teams, but with the bottom teams, they have to make decisions that are best for their programs long term. And often the guy who doesn't come with a lot of funding kind of gets left behind.
Yeah, that is a real unfortunate part of this sport. But, like you said, committing two people the best for each other, I really do think that this Juncos-Hollinger team and Rinus Veekay can really build this organization. It's had a few one-off races where they've been really competitive. They're usually always pretty decent on oval in their oval trim. But, seeing an IndyCar veteran, for lack of term, even though Veekay hasn't been in the sport that long, he's been around the series. Seeing him go to Juncos-Hollinger, I'm going to be really, really excited to see where that partnership can go, because no matter what you say about Rinus Veekay, he is very quick.
And depending on some other potential movement that's coming, the best open seat has to be the number 4, Foyt. We assumed it was going to be Veekay for so long. Do we have any idea what's going to happen with it now?
I'm fairly confident that it's going to be Kyle Collette, who tested for Foyt just a couple of days ago for IMS road test, and that is his second test for Foyt. So it kind of seems like that might be the writing on the wall. You bring up an Indy Next runner-up who's been fairly proven in that series, and I think that'd be a great spot to develop somebody right alongside Santino, and you still have that partnership with Penske as well. I think it would be shocking for AJ Foyt to give somebody 2 rookie tests and then maybe not sign him. And I think it's trending in that direction right now, and I think that's a good signing for Foyt as well.
The other big news of the week is with Rahal-Letterman-Lanigan, the test with Mick Schumacher. And I do want to talk about that, Elijah. Looks like it might be something that's kind of real. To me, it looked like it was something where they just kind of wanted to set it up, get a test, get people talking, and then he goes back and does his thing in Europe. But this seems like it might have a potential of something real. But the big thing with RLL is that Devlin DeFrancesco's under contract another year, and the rumor is they would like to move in a different direction, but we haven't heard anything there either.
with Schumacher testing for RLL a couple days ago. I think he was pretty much towards the top all day in testing time, and like you said, I wasn't for sure that this was something that was actually going to be pursued by RLL. IndyCar teams have brought in tons of people to test their cars and drive them. From what Mick said, and the way RLL kind of gave him the red carpet showcase. I would honestly be pretty shocked to not see him in the car. And even though Devlin does have a long-term contract and he does bring backing, if you got a chance to put, it's the biggest name in racing outside of the States. It just is. And I think putting him in that 30 car and replacing Devlin should be a no-brainer for all LL because, man, we've been talking about it all season and all off season. It just really feels like DeFrancesco is kind of going nowhere.
Yeah, it's too bad. You get those rides and produce almost nothing, and sooner or later you're just not worthy anymore, and he's not.
Even though he does bring backing, I'd be very shocked to hear that Schumacher can't bring more backing. Just the name alone holds that much weight, and I think it'd be so great for the sport to get a name like Schumacher in because I really do think it could open the door for maybe some European fans
Sure.
to notice IndyCar because Schumacher is a great driver, but if he's in that number 30 car for RLL next year, being realistic, I don't know if he's in the top 10 in points. I just don't see it. And he's a great driver. I think that's going to open the doors for European fans to say, oh, IndyCar, that product is just as stiff as it is in F1, if not better.
All right, let's talk a little bit more about Conor Daly. As we mentioned earlier, we didn't elaborate, but we mentioned it. Conor has been open in the media talking about a situation that he feels like he is part of the team for next year. He doesn't know anything differently. And as far as he knows, he's part of their plan, but he is also scratching his head at what's going on.
It really is a shame. It's a shame in general that Conor Daly has been put in this situation. It feels like a countless amount of times because every IndyCar fan sees his raw talent, and especially around Indy, and to see him kind of go through these contractual woes every couple of years is honestly it's just sad. It's sad to see because he does have the pace, and for unfortunately IndyCar is at his point apart right now where he's not. He's never going to be in line for those bigger teams, but he could bring funding for a smaller team and be just as successful. And I wouldn't be surprised maybe if AJ Foyt does end up signing Collette. Why not do if he's not ready for ovals yet? I'm not sure why a team wouldn't want to take a shot on a rookie and have Conor run the ovals and then have that rookie run street and road course races because he's as proven as anybody is on that grid.
No doubt about it. The worst case scenario for Conor, let's point out, is that he gets a really good ride for the Indy 500 and has a chance to win it. I think that's the worst case scenario. So I don't think we should feel too bad for him yet.
You did hit it on the nail there. Even though he might not be in a seat a full year, I would be genuinely shocked not to see him at the 500. I'm pretty sure that's a
Should be
ride-in.
betting on him.
Yeah, they should be. And I even saw Marco Andretti get behind. He reposted a fan account that was, trying to bring up support for Conor Daly, and he even retweeted that and posted it himself. Like I could even see them maybe trying out Andretti if Marco's not going to get in that car, which he probably will. Why not give that seat to Conor Daly? I think that would be.
That would happen. I know that the team loves Conor, and I know Conor likes the Andrettis. I know that they're really good friends, especially Marco and Conor. I don't think there's any doubt that if that was a possibility, they would jump at it.
Yeah, I just think that would be a great opportunity for him because if we be honest, other than maybe now Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward, and Joseph Newgarden, when you think of people who are consistently up there and can contend for a 500,
Right.
Conor Daly's got to be in that breath, even though he maybe hasn't been within the top 3 and been in a position to win it. But if you watch the races, he's always there.
I don't know how much more you would have to see to be.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why it is frustrating seeing him go through these contract situations because even this year he had some great races at Iowa. He was pretty good at Nashville. He was great at Portland until he got crashed out.
Free oval, he was a factor of some kind.
He did. And even on a few street and road courses, he was a solid top 10, top 15 finisher.
If you're expecting high results from him on street and road courses, you probably got the wrong guy. If we're
Exactly.
being honest, but he's not completely lost.
If teams want to get a driver that is going to for sure get them in the leader circle, which is I think the top 22 or 23 in point standings, you'd be dumb not to sign Conor Daly because he's gonna be able to put you in that point circle pretty much every time. We saw it last year with Juncos-Hollinger. He gapped Stingray Robb like it was his job.
Yeah, yeah, no
And
doubt.
and I could even see Connor ending up at that open seat at Dale Coyne Racing. I know he brings some budget with him. I'm sure it's probably not what Dale Coyne Racing maybe wants, totally financially wise, but that team is always going to need drivers to kind of boost up that organization, and I think he would be a great fit.
He gives you a chance to win the 500. It's something worth taking a shot at, probably.
I would think so. And even if he's not able to get a full seat, we really saw Ryan Reinbold, I feel like, take a little bit of a step up in their strategic calls this year at the 500 with Ryan Hunter-Reay. If I was another team, I would not want to see Conor Daly in a Ryan Reinbold car for the month of May.
If I'm another team and I have an extra seat, I'm an idiot if I don't hire Conor Daly. And I'm talking about you, Arrow McLaren, and I'm talking about you, Andretti, and I'm talking about you, Penske and Ganassi. If you have an extra car for the 500 and he's not a full-time driver, if you're not all bidding on his services, you don't want to win the 500.
Yeah, that's a great point. And even RLL brings an extra car to Indy, although that's usually been set aside for Takuma Sato. How long is Takuma Sato going to do the 500? I know we like to say he's an invincible man and he's done it for so long, but realistically, there's not probably more than a couple years.
He's a two-time champion. He goes as long as he wants, as far as I'm concerned. And
oh yeah,
Marco Andretti probably doesn't go as long as he wants, but well, he does because his dad runs the team. Well, last year was the first year where he looked like he didn't belong. Yeah. And as long as that's not a consistent theme, I think give Marco a shot. He's always been good at Indy.
Yeah, exactly.
Always been competitive there.
Yeah, like you said, he did kind of feel a little bit like an odd man out. Andretti did have some problems last year in the month of May. They weren't really around. They weren't really as predominant as we would expect them to. But he also got collected on the lap one crash and stuff. And he in general, it really feels like Marco has struggled in Indy specifically.
Last year and the year before he wasn't good, but every year before that he was, if not a top 9 qualifier, somewhere in the mix of cars he's not been a factor in the race for 6-7 years, but good enough to continue to get a ride, I would think.
That's true. I would think him and Connor could work something out. I would love to see Connor especially be able to get that shot at Andretti, but regardless of his contract situations, I think we're both pretty sure he's going to be in a seat in May. There's no doubt about that.
Unless they're all morons.
Well, I'd be interested. I know Aaron McLaren has touted maybe there's some secret driver that they're going to bring out for the month of May who's been testing that they've been keeping under wraps for some time now, and
I'm guessing that's a huge name.
I hope it is. That's what I'm saying.
We probably know a couple of those people it might be over in Europe.
Yeah, well, I know it's not going to be Larson, which I honestly think is better for IndyCar as a whole. I feel like the Larson storyline that first year was pretty fun and pretty cool, but I think it would be awesome. I would love for it to be well, it can be an F1 driver because not at least not an F1 driver that's active because they're actually racing that day in Canada. I would love for it to be Sebastian Vettel, who I think it is probably going to be if I were to take a swing on it.
Some interesting options out there. Anyway, that's a podcast for another time. I think the takeaway from this podcast is we like VK at Juncos-Hollinger. Probably seems like a good fit, and that we hope Conor Daly can find a ride and that you actually believe Mick Schumacher is going to be an IndyCar next year.
I think I do. Not only did his times were pretty solid yesterday, but just the way he was speaking to the media really felt like, he wanted to be there and RLL obviously wanted to have him out. And, I think RLL would kind of shoot themselves in the foot if they bring back Devlin DeFrancesco. Nothing against the guy. His just performance has not been there. That's just from a standpoint of just looking at the seasons as a whole that he's been in IndyCar, it just hasn't worked out. And credit to him for giving it another shot, and credit to RL for signing him again, because he did have a couple okay showings. But when you've got an opportunity to put a Schumacher in the car, it just would be stupid not to put him in.
And by the way, he is not his father. Nobody ever would confuse him with his father as a racer, but he's also a very competitive, talented racer.
Yeah, he is, and he's got a lot of accolades in the endurance side, as well as obviously being in the Formula One side there for a handful of years. But he is acclaimed. But he is not his dad. Nobody's his dad in Formula One wise. He is a great racer, and he would be great for the series. I think that's it. I know we should get here in the next couple weeks, maybe a verdict on the Alex Palou McLaren drama that's happening right now in London. Kind of going back and forth in the courts with Zach Brown and Alex Palou. It's been pretty spicy so far, but no official ruling has been set.
And when we know anything, Elijah and I will be there to talk about it here on the Central Indiana Sports Report. Thanks, Elijah.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it.
Elijah and I will be back as IndyCar news breaks during the off season with a random IndyCar report here and there. Then when the season begins, we'll be back every single week like we were last season. And during May, of course, every single day. We also have IU, Purdue, Colts, Fever, high school football, and basketball, lots and lots of stuff. So please go subscribe. Central Indiana Sports Report is a product of ITG Media. And I love Susie.